Hello everybody, the Undying J here, and I just want to mention that this video has been delayed. yeah, this video was supposed to come out last week, but my computer's machine spirit decided to say screw it and basically mess up everything. I had to basically delete everything and basically reinstall the entire operating system. So yeah, that being said, I am now making this, and later this week I'm possibly going to be streaming on Friday and Saturday. So if y'all wish to join, please do so. But that being said, let's begin the video on the theory crafting of the Apothecary. The Apothecary serves as both a combat medic and a physician for the Space Marines and their chapter. But they also have a more important role as being genetic guardians of their very gene seed, which is possibly the most important thing for a Space Marine chapter. I would also like to mention that there is a chance in Space Marine 2 that the Apothecary could just be named something else, like with the chaplain, called the Helix Adept. They are basically just like apothecaries, except not have as much training, and they usually mainly use Vanguard equipment. Alright, now let's get started talking about the class itself. Its role will mainly be a healer. Probably no big surprise there, but their role is important. They would also probably provide unique debuffs against enemies such as poisons, flames, and among other things. Now, unlike the Chaplain, I think there's kind of only one ability right now I think would fit with the Apothecary, which of course would be a heal. But there is something I would like to consider. For example, and if y'all know Vermintide too, most of the heroes in that game have different career roles. So, I thought, would y'all think if maybe one of the other classes or people of those characters had suddenly had a change in role, such as either the Tactical Marine or the Vanguard being changed into Apothecary? Now, I will personally say that I would prefer a whole new class, and I should also mention this as I also thought about this with the Chaplain being either chained with a Bulwark or Assault, but I truly want them to be their own unique thing, as also I don't want the whole class limit to happen, but that's just my personal opinion. Alrighty then. Now let's start getting to the weapons. Let's start off with the primary weapons. Now, I don't think there will be any unique type of weapons for the Apothecary, but I can see them using the bolt carbine and the bolt rifle. But I could also see them possibly using unique ammo types. Now let's start talking about the secondary weapons. First up, Reductor Pistol. It is strong enough to go through Space Marine armor and even an Orc Warboss's very head. But the only problem with it is very extremely short range. Now, I don't see the Reductor Pistol like I see how the Bolt Pistol and the Heavy Bolt Pistol are like in game. I see it more as a weapon to add to gun strikes and executions for the Apothecary. Maybe there could be some bonuses, like I mentioned with the Chaplain, of using executions and gun strikes to give either buffs or debuffs to enemies. Something similar would be the Silver Bolt Pistol. Now, I thought about mentioning this in the Chaplain video as well, as Chaplains have been known to use this Bolt Pistol, and so do Apothecary. So I can imagine this weapon being very more leaning on gun strikes and giving buffs while doing said gun strikes. Now, before we get on to the melee weapons, I do want to run by a concept with you guys. I think there's unique types of equipment and such that various jobs and classes might be used separately than any other class. Now, for example, I wanted to mention the Purification Vials. This is from the Apothecary in Dawn of War 2, where this is a throwable grenade that does flame damage to all enemies. Now, like I said, this is more just a concept idea, and I would say this unique equipment could mainly replace most grenades we see throughout on missions. Those grenades could also be converted into said unique equipment, but I would like to hear y'all's idea for such things and using unique equipment. Now let's get started with the melee weapons. Now, some of you might already guess this, but I thought of using the Narthecium as a melee weapon. Now, not as a solo melee weapon, but maybe as a combo weapon with the chainsword. Despite how the Narthecium looks, it is a medical tool and not a mainly used for melee weapon, but it has been known to even go through Terminator plate for how strong it is. So how I see it, it would be probably used in game is probably have the Apothecary combo it with the chainsword and have certain melee attacks different from a normal chainsword. Now, I also would like to mention that Primaris Marines have their Narthecium somewhere else and not attached to their arm. They have it as a servo arm on their backpack. Now, I do think that this will not take away from the chances of having it as a melee weapon, as the servo arm could have some animations for it. Now, let's get to the perks, and there's quite a few perks that I've chosen for the Apothecary. First off, let's start with the easy one, and that would be the team buff healing aura, which I have mentioned in the last video with Chaplain, but this is probably more fitting for the Apothecary than the Chaplain, as a healing aura is super fitting. Next up is melee resistance aura, and this is just as an extra fill, just to add to the team buffs, and as far as I'm aware of, I'm pretty sure there is no team perks that apply a melee resistance for all team members. Last but not least, the last potential team perk I thought of is Angels of Death, which I believe would possibly give them some form of invulnerability for a short time, either when a teammate has gone down, or some other variable that happens during the operation. Now, that was team perks. Now let's get to some of the other perks. For example, Larryman's Blessing. This perk will allow you to use your ability to pick up an ally from range. Next up is Combat Stimulants, which would, after using your ability on an ally, could potentially give them a damage boost. Next up is a signature perk, and I think it would be thematic to have it be something considerate to the Gene Steam pickup. Either it being A, you spawn with it, there are some various other degrees, but once you have it, you might get some sort of buff, or if you ever go down with the Gene Seed, it will pass to an ally. Now, last but not least, this last perk I thought as a potential is a little more experimental compared to the other ones. Now, what I thought of it at first is maybe it's some sort of buff when you do an execution or something like that. Now, the other option, and I admit, can get very memey, and honestly, I probably would do this to my own friends, but the other option is going to a downed ally and just straight up killing them. Now, I know how that sounds, but hear me out. Now, I know there's like certain death timers on longer difficulties, and maybe in the future there's a chance they'll up the difficulty to even have higher death timers. So, Executioner's Piece could be a chance of instead of going through the death timer as bad as it is, maybe if you execute someone, the death timer is reduced. Alright, everybody. This will most likely be the end of the video, and I just want to say thank you all who commented on the last video, and I really love some of the things y'all said, and I hope y'all enjoyed this video, as this was super rushed, as like I said before, my machine spirit of my computer decided to be a little troll. So I hope y'all at least enjoyed this, and if, like I said before, y'all can comment in what y'all think and what you want for the Apothecary class. Now, I also just want to mention that next week, or hopefully next week, I will be posting my Tech Marine video. So I hope you guys enjoy.